everyone, and welcome back to another informative video here at the official YouTube home of snakesforpets.com. Today we'll be addressing somewhat of a delicate issue. That issue involves being able to tell if your pet snake is hibernating or deceased. While advanced and experienced snake owners can likely tell the difference in very short order, this can be quite difficult for a beginner. So, is your pet snake perfectly healthy? Is it sick? Is it hibernating? Or has it passed away? In this video, we will respectfully and delicately address these topics and tell you what to look for. Stay tuned. Quite similar to a hibernation period, many snakes enter what is known as the brumation cycle. This is typically defined as an interlude of sorts, a period of limited activity during the winter season. Since snakes are cold-blooded, they use the winter months to conserve energy. This is achieved by limited movement. It should be noted that not all snakes brumate. Snakes that are not native to cold regions are less likely to engage in this behavior. Understanding brumation is vitally important for a new snake owner. If you see that your snake is not moving or expressing very little movement over a considerable period of time, this does not always equate to serious illness or death. Your snake could simply be engaging in a brumation period. The brumation process, or brumation cycle, is all about hiding away. If your snake's enclosure is filled with various nooks, crannies, and general hiding spots, your snake will make the most of these areas and literally rest in one spot for a long period of time. Lack of movement and extreme lethargy when moving is a sign of brumation. Is your snake refusing to eat? If your snake is in brumation or a hibernation state, meals will typically become non-essential. Because snakes need warmth for proper digestion, they will refrain from eating if they are unable to find a source of warmth. Undigested food that sits within a snake's intestinal tract can cause health issues once the brumation phase has ended. This, in a nutshell, is why many snakes refuse food during this hibernation process. The core trigger of brumation involves temperature. If a snake gets too cold, they will essentially shut down. This applies to your pet snake as well as snakes that live in the wild. Although it largely depends on the species, most snakes require an enclosure or tank temperature of 80 to 90 degrees to live healthy and comfortable within their home-friendly environment. Now that we've briefly covered brumation and what it generally entails, the question now involves sleeping. How can you tell if your snake is simply asleep? Well, it can be a bit difficult, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. A sleeping snake looks like a snake that's in hunting posture. In the wild, many snakes are deemed quote-unquote ambush hunters because they will sit essentially motionless for long periods of time waiting for prey to cross their vision path. Because snakes can sit in one place for days at a time, it's really hard to know how much of that time is being spent hunting, sleeping, or simply taking it easy. The advantage that the owner of a pet snake has is that hunting is not a major factor, of course. If your snake is enclosed and alone, there are ways you can check to confirm your snake's status. Although snakes do sleep with their eyes open, they do react and will react a bit differently if you happen to approach them during dream time. The first way you can tell if your snake is asleep is the distance of approachability will change, especially if you're quiet in your intention. Your snake will allow you to get extremely close without drawing a reaction if they are indeed sleeping. If you touch a sleeping snake, they will become startled, just like a person. They'll even look around and express somewhat confusion. The third way to tell if your snake is asleep is their reaction to being picked up. Here again, more startled behavior and random looking around. While this could be interpreted as cruel behavior on some level, waking up a sleeping snake, there is, however, much to be learned here, especially if you are worried that your snake is deceased. If you ever wake up your snake, take mental notes. Every living creature has their own unique personality. How does your snake react to being woken up? Once you know these signs, you'll be more inclined to tell when something is not right. This can serve you quite well if you feel that your snake is ill, near death, or deceased. Because snakes do not suddenly change colors, begin to smell funny, or get cold because they're already cold-blooded, identifying a dead snake can be far more difficult than some would likely imagine. Additionally, as noted earlier, a sleeping snake does not close its eyes because snakes lack eyelids. So, what do? How do you know if your snake has passed away? Lack of a reaction is obviously the most notable sign. However, things run far deeper than what is noticeable on the surface. Picking your snake up will give you a better and more verifiable evidence. Pay close attention to how your snake feels when you're holding it. Can you feel its pressure? Not its weight, but the pressure of its body, its life pulse. For example, if you have a boa, they will attempt to wrap around you for balance. As noted earlier, snakes can be startled. This is especially true if they're asleep. If you are holding your snake and there is no response to any sort of outside influence of a surprising nature, then things have likely taken a negative turn. Complete unresponsiveness is a dire sign. While some snakes will not react immediately, if you have held your snake for several minutes outside of its enclosure and you are seeing no response of any type and no signs of life, this most likely means that your snake is, unfortunately, deceased. In many cases, there are no obvious warning signs if your snake is dying. It usually depends on the situation and what is wrong with your snake. Generally speaking, of course, the best indicator of potential death is age itself. Full adult snakes that have lived for many years or even decades usually have some form of body scarring, are large and wide. This is because snakes never stop growing in the most literal sense. And the final sign of old age is discoloration. A snake's bright and vibrant color pattern will begin to show signs of fading over time. Your snake could even appear a bit gray in spots. While signs of death are not obvious, signs of old age and a life well lived usually are. The best indicator in terms of your snake's full aging potential is to identify the species and research life expectancy. For example, the ball python can live up to 30 years, corn snakes as much as 25, and boa constrictors up to 40. While these ages are the far end of the spectrum, it's general information like this that can give you a better understanding of your snake's life potential as well as your pet's twilight years and when they will arrive. If your snake is indeed ill, symptoms will naturally vary depending on the root cause of the sickness. However, there are a few symptoms to watch for that are quite common across many different ailments. They are as follows: refusal to eat, lethargy, breathing through the mouth rather than the nose, nasal discharge, difficulty shedding. This is due in large measure to a general lack of moisture. Parasitic infection. This is where mites and ticks are visible. And finally, what is known as stargazing. This is a symptom where your snake will rest in seemingly uncomfortable positions with their head raised for no particular reason. If your snake has been displaying any of these symptoms, especially for a prolonged period of time, either individually or collectively, we advise you to take your pet to the vet as soon as possible. As it relates to death, never make the final verdict on your own, even if you are essentially 100% certain. The most heartbreaking action would be to get rid of your snake in a disposable manner or bury your pet and face the possibility that your snake is in hibernation or sleeping. If you are convinced that your snake has indeed passed away, take your pet to the vet if possible. Allow a professional to make the final conclusion. Do this if for no other reason than for official confirmation, your own personal closure, and out of respect for a once living and beautiful creature. And on that final informative tip, that'll wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed this content, we hope that you will click that subscribe button and join us here on YouTube. We add new content on a regular basis, so please subscribe and stay up to date. Whether you found this article on snakesforpets.com or happen to find us here directly from the YouTube platform, we certainly hope you'll stick around. There's always more to come. Question time. Do you have a story to share regarding your own personal and perhaps confusing experience with a hibernating or sleeping snake? Has there ever been a time where you've been uncertain about your snake's health status? What did you do, and what did you learn from the experience? Please drop me a line in the comments section and let me know your story. From all of us here at snakesforpets.com, we thank you so much for watching. We hope to see you again soon, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.